Now today is the very significant day that not only the officers but the members of their respective families and their staff are celebrating today. I just congratulate to each one of them. They will share, enjoy today's event. The historical background has been told to you, what the State Bank was, who was the predecessor, and how the State Bank has taken a shape now. Before the Calcutta Bank was incorporated and formed, which is the predecessor of the Imperial Bank and also present State Bank of India, East India Company came here. In Calcutta, East India Company came, say for example, 1600, up about 1520 in Calcutta. But there was an establishment in Calcutta. At the time, establishment was Kasim Bazar, was at that time suburb to the capital of Bengal, Bihar, Odisha during the period of regime of Mughal, Murshidabad. So, when East India Company, before the East India Company came, Jagat Diden, Jagat Seth and Jagat Seth was a, so to say, banker. And as I have been able to lay my hands on the history on this, that because the business of the Jagat Seth, he was a civilian, so they thought that civil administration is not being run by the regime of Nawab. So they wanted to have a change. In fact, first change took place because of the participation of Jagat Seth along with other people during the regime of Sarfaraj Khan. Because Sarfaraj Khan was grandson of Alibordi Khan. Sorry, Sarfaraj Khan was, so to say, grandson of Murshid Qoli Khan. And Alibordi Khan was the governor of the then province of Bihar. So he was the Nawab, Sarfaraj Khan Young. So civil administration was not being run properly. So the then banker of those areas, Murshidabad, they secretly have a contact with Alibordi Khan to overpower and throw out the Sarfaraj Khan from the power. So he was advancing from Patna. Having got the information, Sarfaraj Khan also advancing towards the north to prevent him from advancement. In the midpoint, there is a place called Giriya, but the people, the historian knows better than mine. Those who know the history, I think they will corroborate me. At Giriya, there was a battle. Sarfaraj Khan was killed. Alibordi Khan took control over Bengal, Bihar, Odisha, and with the help of this, so many civilians, among the Jagat Seth was a banker. So banking business was before East India Company was there in this part of the country. Ultimately, you know that when Nawab Sirajuddaulah was not administering properly, so again, Jidin Jagat Seth contacted the East India Company along with other people with the help of Mirzapha. Then East India Company, you know the Battle of Plassey. That then banking business was in the hands of Indians. Jagat Seth remained. After the company rule was established almost all over the country. This English people, banking people, thought it fit to establish the banking system in the country. So that is why Calcutta Bank was established. Old building, small portion is still there. I mean, it was not there, its replica is there. In the year 1986 around, or 85 or 86 around, this old structure was demolished. It just started to, so to say, Calcutta High Court. Just. And it was said that this building of the Calcutta Bank, then Imperial Bank, then State Bank, was constructed after the construction of Calcutta High Court building. So from Calcutta High Court building, one could overlook the Ganga, and it is not visible right now, so this was the position historical. And now the banking business, who is the, and State Bank of which is the leader, who is the State Bank of India is a leader, is, I should say, is a helping hand to the democratic norms, because finance control almost everything. The people with whom the finance rests, they control really. So when the State Bank of India came into being, this is the first step as a democratic movement within our country. So democratic movement in real sense, when State Bank of India was formed, so to say, because the corporate body is distinct from this ruler. And then you know thereafter the history, the bank nationalization, all this. In order to achieve the socialist, social democratic republic, meaning thereby the resources and funds of the country will vest onto the people, and whatever the surplus with the mobilization of fund will be utilized for the people. That is the concept of socialism. With this idea, 14 banks were nationalized by the then Prime Minister Mrs. Gandhi. So State Bank is now leading now. I did not say that what is the present role is known to everyone. State Bank has become, so to say, all the banks, nationalized banks, has become the part of our daily routine. We can't move without the banking system. This is the position. So today everybody is celebrating. And now I feel that what are my feelings is today, every nation has a unique combination of the needs and resources, as I've said. Since no nation has an absolutely homogeneous population, cross-cultural conflicts are a constant destabilizing internal factor in many countries, resulting in formation of many economic groups in the society, depending on their income. A liberal outlook is necessary for the economic progress of the people. While enacting the State Bank of India in 1955, the objectives was stated to be extension of banking facilities on a large scale, more particularly in rural and semi-urban areas. SBI therefore became an important instrument of extending the rural credit to supplement the efforts of cooperative institutions. But now we are passing through an e-era. In accordance with the objectives enunciated in the State Bank of India Act and the staunch desire to come closer to the people, and learn that the State Bank of India is taking various steps in the direction of a banking that is providing internet banking, mobile banking, cash deposit machine, self-kiosk, receiving bills for amenities like telephone, water, electricity, etc., even to the customers living in the rural areas. It has also liberalized the sanction of loans to the government officials and staff members. The emergence of the new technology allows access to banking and banking services without physical direct resource to the bank premises by the customer. The technology-led process is leading us to what has been described as a virtual banking. The benefits of such virtual banking services are manifold. It confers the advantage of a lower cost of handling a transaction. The increased speed of response to customer requirements under virtual banking vis-a-vis branch banking can enhance customer satisfaction. The lower cost of operating branch network along with minimum staffs leads to cost efficiency. For example, I am to deposit my income tax in advance. Normally I deposit in Calcutta because my IT file is there. I can deposit from here now. This is the system which could not be imagined in old days. This is the e-bank. It also allows the possibility of improved quality and enlarged range of services being available to the customer more rapidly and accurately at his convenience. It may not be possible to deny these facilities to rural areas in our countries, since if banks do not provide them, some non-banks will do it. Even housewives sitting at home can operate the banking transaction by making best use of facilities under e-banking. Another development relates to the increasing popularity of the credit cards, which are bound to reach rural areas. Smart cards, which are basically cards using computer circuits in them, thereby making them intelligent, could serve as a multi-purpose cards. Smart cards are essentially a technology-improved version of a credit and debit card and could be used also as ATM cards. For the spread of virtual banking and smart cards to the rural areas, the banks are ensured that electric power and telecom connectivity are continuous and supplies do not drop, especially during the hours when a bank's transactional activity is at a relatively high levels. The banks could, under such assured supply conditions, acquire the required banking software and also put in place the necessary network for providing anywhere banking facilities in rural and semi-urban areas also. Indian banks will have to get interested in providing diversified range of financial products and services along with those that they are already providing by using technological advances. As the level of education in rural areas rises and affluence spreads, customers will start seeking efficient and quicker and low-cost services. As the financial system diversifies and other types of financial intermediaries become active in rural areas, savers would turn towards a mutual fund, or the savers themselves decide to deploy part of their financial surpluses into equities and debentures, as also other fixed income security. The bulk of bank deposit in the rural areas are currently longer term deposit, and as this come down, there would be a distinct shortening of the average maturity structure of bank deposit with an increase in assets liability mismatches. The spreads that the bank now enjoy will progressively shrink, making it more difficult for them to survive. As more and more intermediaries enter rural areas with greater level of technology, traditional banking business will come under pressure. In order to face the competitive pressures being exerted by the recently set up market-savvy banks like SBI and other allied banks, which have extensive branch network in most of the existing and potential rich rural and semi-urban area, will have to provide such services. Lastly, if I may be permitted,